Hi, true avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is episode 54, and I am your host, Zoe Wild. I am a transgender and bisexual woman, and my pronouns are she, her. Joining me for the first half of this week's episode is Cleo. Cleo is a trans woman and gamer whose pronouns are it and she, her. How are you, Cleo?
Doing great. How are you?
I am, well, it's Friday night. I mean, normally that's when people are going out to party, and I'm just exhausted by Friday night. Like, I don't have the energy to go out till Saturday night. Like, I have to recuperate from the week. So, that's why we're recording a podcast.
Hooray!
I'm definitely not a total loser. Not to say anything about my guests by calling myself that.
No, I'm a total loser.
Time zones.
I know I'm a total loser. You don't need to like...
No, you're not a loser. No. I only have the coolest people on my podcast.
Aww.
Speaking of very cool people, Lloyd is also here. Lloyd Lloydster is a trans man and variety streamer on Twitch. And Lloyd's pronouns are he, him. How are you, Lloyd?
Good. Similarly exhausted. We survived the week at what cost? But we're here.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're all sufficiently exhausted, so I'll just jump straight into what the plan is for this episode. So I mentioned first half, that my guests right now are here for the first half. In the second half, Cleo and Lloyd are going to be heading out, and I'll be welcoming Juno on for the first time, and we are going to discuss our first impressions of the new game, starring genderfluid actor Erika Ishii, Ghost of Yotei. I was blanking on the name. I was like, I'm going to say everything but the name until I remember the name of the game that I literally played less than, 5 hours ago. Anyway. Okay. So, but also we have news, and to be honest, I was going to cover the news alone this week, cause I was like, well, there's not that much. And then of course, Wednesday hit as I'm writing the show notes, and all of the news happened, literally all of it. There's news up until December at this point. That's how much news there is. So some of the headlines. Kojima has cast a famous trans woman in his next game. I'm sure you can guess who. Konami wants to know which Metal Gear remake you want next. Some queer game news, both AAA and indie. Sadly, there were more layoffs, and so we'll talk about that. Xbox is increasing Game Pass prices again. Feels like every week there's Xbox price increase news, and it's starting to drive me up the wall. And finally, EA is being sold off, putting several queer game franchises at risk. And that is why I have guests on this week, because I think that is going to be a loaded topic. And of course, we'll also be talking about what we've been playing this week, but skipping Queer Game of the Week because this episode is pretty loaded, and to be honest, none of us had time to do the work to find a Queer Game of the Week. So it'll be back soon, though, I promise. It's just not a consistent thing right now, and I apologize for that. However, before we jump into all of that, I have a few quick favors to ask of you, true avatars. If you like this podcast, please leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. Spotify has ratings and comments, while Apple has reviews. Engagement like comments, ratings, and reviews helps to grow the podcast. And a growing podcast means a happy podcast host who is forever happy and fulfilled that you enjoy listening to her show, which creates an infinite feedback loop of more podcast episodes and more growth and more happiness. So please go leave a comment, rating, or review. And if you're watching the video version on YouTube, which is actually doing really well, so thank you very much, my true avatars, please like this episode, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you're the first to know when a brand new video drops. Also, please follow True Avatars, a queer video game podcast, on social media. There are accounts on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok, and I promise I will eventually update the TikTok, I swear. At True Avatars is the handle, and you can also find the podcast on the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com. No spaces. And remember, this is a weekly queer video game podcast, so check in every week. I aim to bring you news, interviews, and updated discussions that are relevant to queer gamers, so you have a safe space to check in on the world of gaming from a 2S LGBTQIA+ lens. Alright, let's start with Cleo. What have you been playing?
My life is only Silksong. I haven't played that much of it because of other things going on, but Silksong has been it. It is so good. It is so hard. I haven't even finished Act 1 yet.
You said, now before we started recording, you said you'd been playing 20 hours, which is a lot. I assume that's not a lot in Silksong time, right? It's like dog years kind of a thing, where time it's like you're on the planet Interstellar, right? You play 20 hours of Silksong, but in every other game that's 5 minutes.
I mean, it feels like it, but then again, I had to get good. I had not played Hollow Knight in a long time. I think the average I've seen is 40 to 60 hours for completion. So, assuming the next acts are about the same, I think I'm on par to hit 60-ish hours. Presuming I do 100%, which I might. I really like the game. It is so
Are
much
you
fun.
100%ing, like, are you still in the progress of 100%ing, or are you going to go backtrack later for 100%?
I'll probably backtrack. Like, I've gone back through a few areas already with, like, the new abilities I picked up in this first act already. And it's like, oh, this has been great. But I'll probably go back later. I know I've missed so many things, but it's something I'm probably going to work on to as the game goes.
So, I do want to ask one question about Silk Song. I don't know if you've gotten to this part yet, and I don't know if it's considered a spoiler, although I'll try to describe it vaguely, although I'm sure there's probably a lot of sections like this as well. But I saw I feel like it was Reddit, there's one section where, like, there's a bench, so every time you lose to the boss, you go back to this bench, obviously, right? But the bench and the path to the boss are, like, it's like 5 minutes of, like, very intense platforming through this, like, I want to say, like, a reddish-looking area. I don't know if it was fire or lava, or if it was just, like, autumn vibes. I literally don't remember. But, like, watching this one section of, like, every time you lose to the boss, you have to do the hardest platforming you've ever done in any video game. And I was just like, I've had, anyway, yeah. Have
it
you
might
gotten to that
be
part
the
yet?
area I'm in. I might be far. I'm not sure actually which part of the game that is. And I've seen that platforming, like that map section, like, oh, that's a bit of a hike. That's a run back. Oh no. But the part I'm at, I've kind of got it down pat, where it's like, I know the route, I know where the enemies are. I just jump over, I glide dash. Okay, great. Jump and keep climbing up. I kind of have that memorized. I don't even think about it anymore. It's like, okay, I'm at the bench. I've died again. Okay. And just go.
Well, do you want to feel really bad about yourself?
No.
Well, my teenage cousin has already beat Silk Song and says he can do that section from the bench to the boss in his sleep. And I believe him, by the way, because he's really good at video games.
I'm going to show myself out. I should give up my gamer card. It's been lovely. I'm going to just like...
Cleo, I still have your gamer card from last time.
Well, can you, like, shred it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hold
I
on, let me
appreciate
just,
that.
like, put it in my shredder right here that I keep beside my desk to shred gamer cards. I'll be taking Lloyd's next, I'm sure. I have to judge what he's playing.
Just listening to Silk Song stuff, I love watching people play, but I think the last time I played a game even close to that was Dead Cells, and that took a lot. Never finished it. Had a good time. Said this was good. Thanks for having me, but
Lloyd, we still have to do our, like, at some point we're going to start playing Celeste. Sorry to cut you off, Cleo. We're going to do our Celeste playthrough together. We can check in every week on the podcast to see how bad we are at it.
We do that, actually.
I am so curious to see what your death counts are by the end of the game. I just want to know.
You don't need to know that. You don't need to know
No,
that.
I do.
That's
I do.
private
I really
information.
do.
No, that's classified.
Sort of
Even
like-
Trump doesn't have access to that information.
Yeah. But
Give it a couple weeks, it'll be fine. And he'll get it. He'll get it somehow.
I forgot what I was gonna say. We were talking about Celeste, death
I'm so
counts.
sorry.
I was gonna ask about Well, I was gonna ask about the gamer card. Do we need to have, like, is there like a triangle? We need to be good at 2 out of 3 types of games. Like, what's the theoretical? Because platforming
Yeah,
is
that's a
not
good question.
not it for me. I need to make it up in the other areas.
I don't have a gamer card. I never got one because I really can't even beat the original Super Mario Bros. That's how bad at video games that I am. Don't even judge me. You know what? At that point, like, just like, I'm knowledgeable about video games and I host the podcast. That's insofar as my video game knowledge goes.
I'm
Playing
not
Ghost of
judging you.
Yotei, which we're going to talk about later, I definitely didn't make it. I definitely made it past the tutorial. So far. By the way, I should know, we're recording this part of the podcast on Friday night. The next part will be recorded Sunday morning, so I might look a little different. I think I'll wash my hair by that point. Anyway, so in case people are watching the video version and they're like, I will have played more Ghost of Yotei also before then. I want to make that clear. Anyway, Lloyd, sorry, I am getting in the weeds. What have you been playing? That isn't Celeste, obviously.
No.
I'm just going to skim over the fact that I can't beat Super Mario Bros. Without, like, the save states, so.
I have no context for how well I do, and it would probably be similar, I'm going to be honest. But I've been playing a lot of Warframe, and that's my current MMO obsession. That and Dredge. Dredge has been a game I've been working through, and I love... Have you both heard of it? Okay.
I've played Dredge. I love it.
Yeah, it's a... I'm sure the game description that the devs put together is going to be a lot better than what I cobbled together, but essentially it's I love fishing games. I would be just happy with any type of fishing game. But this one's got this lovely, like, open worldness to it. It's got this lovely, like, eldritch kind of horrors, abyssal horrors subtext going on. Sometimes not so subtexty. And, I don't want to reveal too much because it's like as you play it, you get into the world a bit more. But it's got this like fear mechanic or like this anxiety type mechanic that there's a lot of different ways you can make it so that your character doesn't experience that as much. And it also has, I believe, some really cool accessibility features where you can like really like cut that down. So because I was really worried when it gave me those options when I first booted up the game, I was like, great, it's going to have like all of the triggers for like an anxiety attack or something. Because like,
so it was giving you real anxiety. Like the anxiety meter in the game is giving you real anxiety. It's like really immersive video gaming.
Very immersive. Yeah. It like taps into all the senses of that a video game could. Yeah, directional audio, like a lot of fun stuff. But no, the fishing, it's enough comfort there that I'm really enjoying it.
Have you dredged up? You can dredge up eldritch horrors in that game, right? Like you can fish them up and stuff. I've
been taking it real slow, so I haven't gotten to a point when it's like, hey, go. I think I'm close to something that looks like a huge critter with tentacles in an area that I'm not approaching because I see those. I'm a very small ship. I have money to make and side quests to do.
It's just Cthulhu. It's fine.
Yeah,
it just wants to say hi.
It's just eldritch horrors beyond your imagination. It's fine.
It's fine.
Go out on the water at night. I promise. It's safe. Don't worry about the voices.
Don't sleep for multiple days. That'll go really good for you. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. No, don't do that.
You also mentioned Warframe, which I recently learned was a queer game. It has like lots of queer NPCs. I think I was reading, I'm going to make sure I don't know if 100% this was Warframe. Cause like again, Valorant, Warframe, Overwatch, all those like multiplayer games that I don't play, they all blend together. I'm sure there's lots of people in the comments right now furiously typing like, Zoe, how could you confuse Valorant and Overwatch? What is wrong with you? But anyway, I think I read that like there's some like tutorial person like early on in the game who's a trans woman in Warframe.
It's really possible. I'm really bad at listening to his stories when I play MMOs. I know Destiny 2 has quite a few, has a trans character and a couple gay relationships in like in the core stories, but Warframe might. I really might. When I play MMOs, I'm really bad. Like when I did Genshin Impact, I was not on that story. I was skipping. I'm really bad.
Yeah.
All right, so Silksong, Warframe, and Dredge. Mm-hmm. Anything else before I kind of jump in with mine?
Nothing really from me. Nothing really substantial that I can comment on.
That's fair. Well, speaking of, so I am bad at video games. I can't beat Super Mario Bros., the original from 1985, I think? 83, 85? I can't remember. I can't remember which one was the video game boom and which one, or like the bust, and then which one was like the revival. Anyway, point being here, I'm bad at 2D platformers, but I'm good at 3D platformers. And I've been playing a lot of 3D platformers this week because last week, the greatest platformer of all time got a remake, and it's called Pac-Man World 2 Repack. And I've seen a lot of people on our Pac-Man sub complaining about this game, how it's not like a perfect one-to-one remake. I don't know why they don't just go back and play the original. But this remake is like really good. It feels a little bit better to play. Like it's pretty faithful, but it still feels like they just smoothed it over a little bit. All the buttons are completely remappable inside the game. So like immediately I was like, oh, I don't like the A button being, I think it was, or the jump button was like B or something. And I was like, no, it has to be A. On a Nintendo console, jump is always A, like for Mario stuff, right? And what's really nice about this remake too is like they added some nice quality of life features. They fixed all the boss battles. So in the original game, the first boss is a frog, and then the other three bosses, I guess the devs didn't have time to finish them. So they actually just made them like mechanical ghosts. So like when you go fight the 4 ghosts from Pac-Man, you know, the ones from the maze in this like 3D version of like, anyway, for anyone who doesn't know what Pac-Man World is, it's like Mario, but Pac-Man. Like it's like Mario 64, Mario 3D World are the closest examples I can think of, but like with Pac-Man, it's like a 3D platformer with Pac-Man. So when you get to the first boss, I forget is it Clyde for the first boss? But anyway, all the ghosts have names. The first ghost you fight is like in a frog, and it has a very specific design to it. And then the rest of the boss fights are all the same. Like you're like jumping around and trying to bash the head of the ghost mech in all the other boss fights. So for this game, they actually went back and like added other animals as the bosses and made them unique. So the second boss fight is very similar to that original copy and paste boss fight, but the ghost isn't an owl this time. I haven't gotten to the other two because I'm kind of like pacing myself with it. I'm like savoring it. I definitely didn't buy it twice. That is definitely something I didn't do, and I'm certainly not going to buy it a third time on PlayStation so I can get the trophies and the platinum. Definitely not something I would ever do. Never. You should only buy a game once, okay? Like, never buy a game twice. Even if you really love it, you shouldn't buy it twice. Certainly not 3 times. 3 is right out. So anyway, this game is really, really good. I'm playing it on my Switch 2. I'm playing the Switch 2 version on my Switch 2. It's really pretty to look at. There's only 2 things I can note is the camera's like ever so slightly farther away than the original. So like it's throwing me off just a tiny bit. And also there's like a move in the game where you can like charge up and then roll at enemies, and they changed the sound effect for that, and it's a crime against humanity. Aside from that, it's a 10 out of 10 remake. So
okay. Why would they change the sound effect?
I mean, they changed all of them, but they just didn't make the rev roll. It's called a rev roll. They didn't make the rev roll sound effects faithful to the original. All the other sound effects are pretty close, but I guess they just wanted to like polish it up. Maybe the rev roll came from a sound library that they didn't have access to anymore for the license. Like, I don't know, but it's a crime, so it's unforgivable. I'm going to get a refund on the game.
You're going to beat it, then refund it, and then you can buy it on PlayStation, and then you can only have bought it once.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Perfect plan.
Logic.
Perfect plan.
It's like,
have either of you played any of the... Sorry, Lloyd, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it reminds me of like one of the Pokemon games when it got recreated. It was like 9 or 10 out of 10 too much water, but it was almost exactly the same as the other one. So it sounded
It's actually okay. It's that, yeah. So that's Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. IGN gave it 7.8 out of 10.
7, okay.
Too much water. And actually, I think in the original Ruby and Sapphire there is too much water. Like there's areas where you're just surfing for like what feels like forever. In the remake, it only felt like a couple of minutes. I don't know if it's because I was an adult by that point and stuff didn't feel as long in my own head, or if like they just made the map smaller, but I don't see why that was a complaint from IGN, which is probably why it got memed, because there was hardly any water in the game. Anyway, 7.8 out of 10, not enough rev roll sound effect, for sure. Have either of you played any of the Pac-Man World games?
I have not. Do you think it's worth... I see you shaking your head. Is it... I feel like I know the answer to this. I don't think I have to ask this, but do you think it's worth playing?
I think if you're nostalgic for it and you played them 25 years ago or whenever they came out, yes. I don't think these hold a candle to any of the Mario games. They're good platformers, like they're pretty good. They're a little challenging, but for the most part they're like... I don't want to use the term mid because I don't think they're mid, but like nostalgia, I'm blinded by nostalgia for a lot of this, or I'm like...
I played...
Maybe blinded isn't the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I'm like trying to dredge through the memories, but like I played like this 3D Pac-Man game. Is that the thing? Way back, and I had like really like specific memories of like this like pirate level. I don't know how many 3D Pac-Man games there were. Was this a... There's 3 of them.
There's 3, and then they did like a racing spin-off, like a kart game.
Not racing.
Okay, so there's like a boardwalk level in the second one, but I think in the first one there might be pirate stuff. Do you remember what console you played it on? Because I can tell you right now what game it was based on what console it was on.
I'm feeling out if it was PlayStation 1 or 2, to be honest, and I know that's very important information.
It is, yeah. That tells me nothing. Those are the consoles it was on.
There you go. Yeah, okay, yeah.
but Pac-Man World, excuse me. Whoa, Pac-Man World 1 was on PS1 and Pac-Man World 2 and 3 were on PS2. They were also on other consoles, obviously, but I know you're a PlayStation kid, so yeah, they were on... World 1 was on PS1 and then World 2 and 3 were on PS2. And they're each very different kinds of platformers. Like World 3 is like a straight up, like it has a narrative. The second game has a bit of a narrative, but it's mostly like these just like tight, like Mario 64 Sunshine style levels. And then the first game is like more like 3D World, where it's almost like a top-down isometric side-scroller thing. Like, it's a very, like, locked-off camera kind of a game, so...
Probably 2, then. That's feeling a little bit closer to these, like, some random screenshots my brain's giving me.
Fair. I mean, if you're going to play one of these games at all, I would play World 2 Repack, the one that just came out. Like, if you're going to play any of them, it's considered the best one. This is like the best possible remake they could make of it. And also, all the complaints people have about the remake, you won't notice because you didn't play the original. And as someone who played the original obsessively, and I definitely played it like multiple times in the last 5 years, especially during the pandemic, I thought it aged decently, but I think the remake fixes all the problems I have with it. Like, even when there's changes, I'm just like, yeah, I get why they changed that. Like, I understand. So, speaking of games that they didn't change at all, though, that's also a 3D platformer, is I've also been playing Super Mario Galaxy. I played it for like 20 minutes last night. My copy came in the mail. I popped it in. I was going to play Mario Galaxy 2, but I'm like, you know what? I want to see what Mario Galaxy 1 looks like in 4K on my Switch 2. It looks like shit. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that anymore. YouTube is I'm gonna have to censor that later. It plays like crap, or it looks like crap. It plays fine. But I'll say this about Mario Galaxy. I played it when it was on 3D All-Stars back in 2020, and I thought it aged like a fine wine back then. Since then, I have played Astrobot. Mario Galaxy 1 did not age like a fine wine. It aged like milk. That's not to say it's a bad game, but if Astrobot is fresh in your brain, this is not. Don't play Mario Galaxy. So, never played Galaxy 2, which is why I picked up the physical copy. Otherwise, I would have just because I have Galaxy 1 already. Like, I wish they'd just done Galaxy 2 HD, but, I know you've both been hanging on what I felt about. I know you're probably like, wow, Zoe, your panties shot off over this game, and you don't even like it. For context, before this game got revealed, I saw some rumors that the game might be in the Direct a couple weeks ago, and I said, the way my panties will launch off my body if they reveal Super Mario Galaxy 2 HD in the Direct tomorrow. And then they revealed it, and I was like, panties gone. They are in another galaxy.
We're getting
That's why
updates.
they call it Super Mario Galaxy, actually.
We're getting updates how far into the stratosphere they were sent. Yep.
Yeah, we're tracking its distance. Like, it's still going.
Gotta get in touch with NORAD before Trump shuts it down to find out where they are specifically. If he hasn't already, to be honest, I haven't been tracking NASA and NORAD, but he hates science, so. Anyway, have either of you played Mario Galaxy in the past?
I have. Not for a long time, but I have. Like, on Wii when it first came out.
Funny enough,
minute.
Funny enough, I think I haven't played it, but it was How I Met Ekami. They were streaming it, I think. Either that one or a different Mario. I think it was Mario Galaxy. So, no. Vicariously through someone else.
That's fair. Yeah, because you didn't really have GameCube or Wii growing up, right?
GameCube. Did have GameCube. But
oh, okay.
A
man of culture.
Wii, I guess. Yeah, PlayStation, Dreamcast, all the PlayStations. We Fit traumatized the whole family. It was a good time. Yeah.
That game actually fat shames you.
No, absolutely.
You are. It literally calls you fat.
When you stand on it, no matter what your weight is.
Yeah, it's so awful.
Obese.
They got in trouble for that.
Oh, did they?
Oh my god.
Yeah, obese.
I think they did.
That makes you a little like a wee or me, whatever they call your little round, little rotund, very mocking, but
yeah. Well, if you have not played Astrobot before, Lloyd, do you have a PS5, right? Have you played Astrobot?
No. Some of these things just go right by me, and then it's like 5 years later, and I'm like, well, I missed that. Can't go back.
I had to literally I kind of had to scream at Ekami to play it.
Oh.
She was like, because I told her about the tech demo. The one from the one that was included at launch, the free anyway, I forget what they call it, Astro's Playroom. And it's just a nice little 2-hour really tight platforming experience. It's really good. It's like if they gave you the first world of Super Mario 64 for free. Obviously, but modernized, right? But if you haven't played any Astrobot, go play that demo because it's free. It's included with your PS5. But I had to kind of scream at Ekami to go play it because she was like, well, it's just a tech demo. It looks kind of silly. It looks like an advertisement for PlayStation. Well, it is. Obviously, it's an advertisement, but it's also a very fun advertisement. And the full game is also very much a very fun advertisement. I highly recommend playing it.
Cool.
Cleo, you definitely own a PS5 and you definitely played Astrobot before, right?
Listen, I owned a PS5. I sold it to a coworker. I never played it.
Okay, if you're not playing it, I guess, but like, why wouldn't you want to play it? It's a PS5. It's so... Oh, hold on. Wait, I know people on the audio will not be able to see this, but if you're in the audio podcast and you're interested, I have the Astrobot controller. I'm holding it up. He's so cute.
Well, now I have to buy one. Now I have to buy a PS5 again and get that controller.
Hey, you can play this on Steam. You can use this on your Steam account. You don't have to buy a PS5 to get the Astrobot controller. He also just released an updated version where he's like frowning a little bit. I don't know why they updated the facial expression, but they obviously want more money from people like me.
Because now it's frowning and it's amazing.
Yeah. All right. If anyone doesn't have anything else they've been playing this week, we can move on to the news. All right, so our first headline. So a few, I'm going to say years ago at this point, Kojima revealed a game called Overdose. Didn't say much about it. We just knew he was making a game for Xbox Studios. It was called Overdose. It was a work in progress. Well, anyway, a couple weeks ago, he actually released a trailer for it. So it's officially called OD Knock. OD assuming it stands for Overdose. And it's going to star Sophia Lillis, who you might know from It. She's the only girl in It, so it's really easy to know who she is in that movie. Udo Kier, who's like, works escape me, although he's a character actor who's been like a lot of stuff, so I'm sure you've seen him in something. I'm sure if you IMDb him, he'll come up. And then Hunter Schafer, trans representation in OD Knock, which is really cool. So, but obviously from social media, we know that he's had a bit of a liking, taken a bit of a liking to her. It's definitely not an obsession. I definitely not getting vibes that Kojima is like a chaser, but, he posts a lot of gorgeous pictures of her online that he's like when he hangs out with her. So anyway, it seems he's like probably hanging out with her because he wanted her in the new game, or she's in the new game and he's also now hanging out. Like, I don't know which one came first, chicken or the egg, but, the egg obviously cracked. So anyway, that's a terrible joke and terrible segue. Anyway, she's in the game. However, they released the trailer and it's like a 3-minute really creepy trailer. And I don't think either Udo Kier or, Hunter Schafer are in the trailer. It's just Sophia Lillis and she's kind of like, did either of you watch the trailer?
Yeah. Oh, I was on it immediately.
So I've been talking a lot. Does either of you want to like describe what the trailer was for anyone who might not have seen it?
Now that you put me on the spot, my brain's like, you watched it. Now remember it.
I can explain if you're.
I was confident looking at Cleo like, you got this.
It starts in a first-person like view, like opening. It starts with the door, yellow walls, red door with like, I don't know what exactly is on the door, but the character you're in POV of opens it to an mostly empty room except for a table full of candles. Mm-hmm. The character who Sophia Lillis plays comes over, starts lighting them, but as she's lighting them, voices kind of start speaking and trembling.
And there was a knock at the door.
Oh, it was a knock. I thought it was voices.
I think it's both. Like, I think it's voices and like, but specifically, I think like the knock is what interrupts her, and then maybe voice. Anyway, I should have watched this trailer again, but yeah.
Right. But the knock interrupts her as she's like lighting a match, lighting a candle, and she repeats the process a few times before stomping on one that looks like it's bleeding and melting, and then it cuts to facing her, matchbox in hand. The door behind her opens, and a figure like walks through it. I don't think we see them come through. Like something in the background shifts, and suddenly it's behind her, grabs her head, and she screams, and that's the end of the trailer.
Yeah, that's actually a very good description. It was much more detailed than I was going to give. I was going to be like, she lights candles, a dude knocks. She's probably dead.
I mean, probably. So, that's the game, right?
Yeah, so I think she's probably the player character, but what I thought was very interesting about this trailer is, again, I don't know if this is going to translate to the final game. I feel like trailers that look this good almost never look this good when you're actually playing, although Ghost of Yotei looks gorgeous, so maybe. But, like, Sophia Lillis, like, it almost looks like her. Like, it almost doesn't look like a video game. It's so realistic. Mm-hmm. Like, you can see, like, the, like, lines of terror in her face. You can see, like, the tears forming in her eyes. Like, you can see the little tremble of her, like, lips. Right? Like, her hair shakes as her head moves. Like, it's really, there's like subtleties to it and like little details that you just don't see in a video game. So I really hope that like that is in the final game too. I don't even know if it's going to come out on this gen. Like, this could be years away, and this could come out on the next generation of consoles. Who knows?
The detail stuff definitely tracks for what Kojima is doing with his other work, even Death Stranding and Death Stranding 2. It's like, no, he's very much into the people and like putting them on display and like showing them off in all these weird ways. So I think that tracks with OD Knock so far that we've seen.
So this is a weird video game podcast, though. So who do you think? Like, what do you think? Hunter Schafer is going to be doing in this game? Do you think she's a playable character? Do you think she's like a final girl type of character? Or do you think I think she's going to probably be like some kind of like. I think she'll probably look like herself, but I think the role she's going to play is going to be like creepy and weird and very Kojima-esque, something you don't expect from her.
I like your take about like a final girl thing, because like we've seen it in some horror games where the trailer or the introduction to the game, even the first few minutes of gameplay, might be from the point of view of a character that's no longer with us, you know, by the time you get to the main story. So her not being in the trailer doesn't really mean anything for how involved her character is actually going to be. So that makes a lot of sense.
Sorry, go ahead, Cleo.
Oh, I was going to say something completely ethereal and otherworldly and just comes out of like nowhere to either help or hinder whoever the main character is if she's not the main character. Like, ooh, here's something to help you along your way. Oh, but then next time you see her, it's like, actually, sorry, that was bad. Oops. But much more spooky.
I have a slight issue with her casting in general, not because I don't like her, but because whenever she's cast and stuff, she is kind of like forced into the character actor kind of role where she's playing a very like distinct and unique character, which is good in some ways, but like I also don't think we're gonna see very many like trans girl final girls, like just like your basic girl, she's in the lead, you know, she's like, I think the fact that she's trans comes with that extra added like she's either got to be weird or she's got to die. Just horror movie coding. And if this is a horror game, and Kojima's very much horror movie, like he's movie focused. He makes playable movies, in a lot of ways. So I don't know. I just fear that like, as cool as it will be to see her in some kind of like antagonistic ethereal role, it would be really cool to just like have one game where a trans woman just gets to like do what the cis girls do, you know? Like legitimize us.
Yeah. I think that would be a really cool thing to see.
Well, speaking of Kojima as well, and not only did he release it, he did like a whole Kojima Direct. I did not watch it, if I'm being honest. I only watched the OD trailer. But he also announced that he's making this new game called Fizzant. Which I have no idea what that means, but apparently it's his like next like spiritual successor to the Metal Gear series.
I'm so excited. I need to see more. I cannot wait. I need to see it so bad.
Have you gotten a chance to dip your toe into the Delta remake?
I have not. But every time I think about buying Delta, I see the price and go, I'm actually just going to play the original Metal Gear Solid 3 again, and I'm fine. And I'm happy.
Well, I mean, if you had a PS5, I'd lend you my copy, but you don't have a
You're right.
PS5,
That's my fault. Darn.
For audio listeners, I'm shrugging in disbelief and disgust at Cleo.
If you can't
not
hear
having a
it.
PS5.
If you can't hear the disgust. Yeah,
yeah, if you can't hear the disgust.
I know.
Speaking of Metal Gear, there has Konami has basically asked fans, I mean, I guess Japanese fans at Tokyo Game Show last weekend, which Metal Gear Solid remake they want to see next. Among the poll, they had Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker 5, Ground Zeroes, and 5, The Phantom Pain. Okay, so there are 2 different Metal Gear Solid 5s. I will have to check in with Shivani about that, because I have zero idea why there are 2 Metal Gear Solid 5s. That's like having Avengers 4 twice.
I can tell you a little bit about that.
Oh, okay, Cleo, go. Yes, please.
Ground Zeroes is like a vertical slice of the gameplay from Phantom Pain, set before like the Phantom Pain begins, and it's set on a very small island. You're set to rescue as Snake prisoners. It's a very small vertical slice of what to expect from the main game.
Okay, so it's like kind of like a tech I don't want to say tech demo because that's reductive, but like it sounds like it came out before Phantom Pain did.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, hey, here's what to expect kind of a game.
Yeah, it was like $20 on release, and it was like, here's like a 5-hour little experience and then a whole bunch of side missions just to like play around in like the gameplay and get a feel for the systems before the main game comes out, and everything goes crazy.
So also I wanted to ask both you guys and also my listeners to drop down in the comments which remake you want to see next. Now that they've done Delta and they're asking fans which one you want.
I've only played one Metal Gear Solid game for about an hour. And it's one of those things that at this point I'm too afraid to start. So I don't know like which one is worth, like obviously, you know, you have to get the whole story or whatever, you play all of them, but it's like looking at just this list, I'm like, oh boy. Like
you have options. Throw a dart at the board and you'll hit something. You're like, that should be a remake. Like a remake, sure. It's not on the list, but I want to see a remake of Metal Gear Acid from the PSP days. But my real answer is Peace Walker, because that is so important to the overarching story of Metal Gear, so like the Solid franchise. That is like they haven't done more than an HD remaster. Feels criminal. And with Delta, I'm kind of hoping they'll keep going down the line and be like, well, Peace Walker's next. Great. And then go from there.
I feel like there's even a very low chance that Peace Walker's actually going to be in the next Volume 2 collection. Like, it sounds like it might just be like... Or no, Peace Walker will be in... I think it's Metal Gear Solid 5 that might not be in, is what I keep reading. But Peace Walker will probably be included in that.
It makes sense, because 5 is such a recent release, and it's totally fine. It doesn't need a remaster. Like, it looks great. It looks stunning. So it's fine to me.
All right, let's move on. So we've got some queer game news. Obviously, we just talked about queer games. We're going to talk about more queer games. So Battlesuit Aces, which I've previously talked about in other episodes. It's a card-based RPG that looks like an old-school anime, and it has some visual novel elements. And it comes from Trinket Studios, who previously made Battle Chef Brigade. And so it has a release date now. It comes out October 7th, which is one day after this podcast comes out. So if you're listening to this on release date, it comes out tomorrow. If you're listening to this podcast at any point after it releases, then the game is already available and it could be in your hands as we speak. And it's coming to Steam, Switch, and PS5. It's got a really cool trailer. I highly recommend going to check that out. I think it is going to be linked down in the show notes, because I think it's on the official website, which I'm going to be linking in the show notes, because that's where I got some of the information from. Have either of you played Battle Chef Brigade or heard of Battlesuit Aces? Because you guys listen to the podcast on a regular basis, I know.
Yes, I have played Battle Chef Brigade, and I have not heard of Battlesuit Aces until today. But it looks great. It looks like a fun game.
Yeah, I have no active memory of it. It doesn't mean I didn't experience it. My brain is really bad.
It's like, I'm hoping here. I'm trying.
Brain is constantly SpongeBob throughout his name, and I'm like, all right, we'll try again tomorrow. Like,
boy, have you played this game? I can neither confirm nor deny.
It's funny because I'm like, was I on one of the episodes we talked about it? This sounds like I remember a chef thing. I remember.
I don't know if you were on I might have just been me when we talked about Battlesuit Aces. I'm not sure if it was in the episode. I don't know if it was in the Naughty 3 episode or not, or if it was in like a Steam Next Fest kind of a thing, or like I know I talked about it back in like May or June, but yeah, at the time I think just talked about it briefly, and then I was like, well, there's no release date except this year, so I assume this would be the next time I talked about it. Speaking of indie queer games, I have it on good authority from Tenat Buyaz. Oh my god, I can't say his name. I'm screwing it up. I'm gonna say it very slowly and he can punch me in the face later. Tenat Buzayangul. He was on the podcast back in episode 42. I'm so sorry, Tenat, for butchering your name. He even sent me a pronunciation guide and everything, and I still mess it up. So I'm just white. Anyway, so this comical PS1 style 3D exploration game / dating sim where you romance houses and buildings, which we talked about in episode 42. Did the interview in episode 42. Go back and listen to it because it's great. It's funny. Tenat's amazing. However, he did say the game was going to be coming out this year, barring some kind of disaster. And unfortunately, the game has been delayed to 2026, and I have been instructed by Tenat to tell you that something went horribly wrong. He lied to us and has committed the ultimate crime of delaying his game. So I'm sorry, Tenat. We'll see you in court. For anyone who doesn't know this is a joke, please don't add us, please. He can take as much time as he needs. But we were just joking on Blue Sky about this. So, anyway, building relationships, a game I'm very excited for, is coming out early 2026. And obviously indie games get all the time they need because they're not Nintendo and we can't bully them. Mm-hmm. So. Mm-hmm. Some oldish news, that I'm sure people at this point already know because it was supposed to come out today, actually, and it's not going to. It's probably, if I had to guess, probably never, but we don't know for sure. But Borderlands 4 had a Switch 2 version that was supposed to come out 3 weeks after the version on PS5, Xbox, and PC. And so we're recording on the day the game was supposed to come out. This podcast will be released after, so I'm sure anyone who was waiting for the Switch 2 version knows it hasn't come out yet, but it was delayed indefinitely. Apparently the devs need more time to polish it and get it running. However, they gave refunds out, which for a game that is like eventually coming out, you feel like you would just keep the pre-order cash, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's eventually going to come out. These people still want to play it, but they refunded everyone, which I don't know for sure because this is my first time seeing this happen in my experience. But like the way it rubs me is that this game probably is, there's a chance this game might not come out, which is why they refunded everyone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Don't everyone speak at once.
Yeah. Lloyd, go first.
No, it makes sense. For them to say delayed indefinitely, it just sounds like the initial, like, soften the blow, like it's not happening yet.
Yeah.
But also, here's your money back. So it's like, okay, buddy, like, you could have just held on to that. Like,
it's not surprising either because this game apparently runs very poorly on PC. Apparently it runs decently on PS5 and Xbox Series, and like enough, but, Zoe Straw said she was playing it and like the performance isn't great, but she's like, that's Borderlands. Like that's just how it is. It's never run amazingly. But they did get Borderlands 3 running on Switch 1, so I'm kind of shocked it's not running well on Switch 2, but I'm more shocked that it doesn't run well on PC.
That's a common trend with Unreal Engine 5 games that I've heard, is that the performance is not great. Even on high-end computers, it's just stuttery, and it's strange to see such like a high budget engine to have so many technical issues.
Well, I guess we can all get excited for Witcher 4 at Unreal Engine 5. Running like Cyberpunk somehow still.
Woo. I bet any money the next Witcher game will be buttery smooth. I will bet like $5 down right now that game will be buttery smooth.
They can't F up another launch like this. They effed up Witcher 3, they effed up Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
3 times the charm, right?
I'm hopeful. I gotta be hopeful. Oh no.
That switch up from any amount to $5. That was like a real quick reality check.
Oh, wait, I take it back.
Wait a second, wait.
So we get $5 if Witcher 4 doesn't run 100% perfectly on any platform.
I've made a mistake.
First,
yeah, that's the bet. Yeah, you know what? I will have $5 at the ready for both of you.
We'll be like on the wall the first $5 Travatars ever makes.
Oh, it'd be nice to just make $5 off the podcast. I didn't make the podcast to make money, but it would be nice if this could be my full-time job. It'd be really cool to like have a podcast and website that has like, speaking of which, Lloyd, we shouldn't be talking about this on the podcast, but we're going to write some blog posts together because you said you were interested.
Yeah. I'd love to. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Someday we will get to that. As soon as neither of us is like, we're still figuring out all the assets. I'm still like, oh, hey, this is the week where I'm going to have free time. And then it's not the week where I have free time. It's never the week. I got a message from someone in my inbox saying like, you don't have to push yourself this hard. It doesn't have to be a weekly podcast. And I'm like, the only person pressuring me to get this podcast out weekly is me. If I didn't do it, if I skip a week, it's okay to skip a week. And if I skip a week and it's okay to skip a week, then I'll skip more weeks. And eventually, like all the other queer video game podcasts, they eventually skip weeks and they stop coming out. It's not going to be this podcast. I will do whatever it takes to keep it going. The only time I missed a week is because I got really sick. Like I literally couldn't get up off the couch. My ex at the time had to feed my gecko because I was like, I literally cannot like lift my arms. I was so sick. So anyway, this is a lot of rambling to say that we're moving on to Legends EA. there's Pokemon news. So this comes from The Verge, and they are confirming that in Legends ZA, or ZA if you're Canadian, your character can wear the clothes of either gender.
Ooh.
So if you pick a girl, you can wear boy clothes. If you pick a boy, you can wear girl clothes. So there's still no gender neutral character creator option. You can't like have a they them character. But this should help bridge that gap. Obviously again, the pronouns will probably be jarring for some people, but still the fact that like boys can wear skirts and girls could, I don't know what boy clothes girls wouldn't wear before, but the fact that like, yeah, like hairstyles and everything is like, oh, girls can probably have shorter hair now. All the shorter hairstyles actually, assuming that hairstyles, it doesn't say that hairstyles are included, but I have to assume that if the clothes are gender neutral, so are the hairstyles. And maybe even like makeup, if there's any makeup in the game. So that's pretty cool. I know you both have Switch 2, so you're both going to play Legends EA. So I know you're both very excited for this.
I didn't realize we were lying now.
Yeah, my Switch 2 is really great. I don't know where it is right now.
Mine got stapled.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, mine was one of the ones that got stapled at the GameStop.
You were the one that got stapled, yeah. Okay. They sold that. They auctioned that off, the stapler that they thought people would want that.
That's awesome.
They auctioned it off.
That's so good.
But why?
I'm sure this is common knowledge, but for anyone who doesn't know, the first like release of Switch 2s, pre-ordered Switch 2s, there was one GameStop. I don't know how many. They made it sound like it was a bunch of Switch 2s, but I think it was it a bunch? Like, does anyone remember the metrics of this? But basically, they just stapled the receipts.
I think it was just one, but I'm not sure.
They stapled the receipts to the boxes, and unfortunately, apparently there wasn't
the
enough
box
room.
is very thin and the screen is right up against the box, so the staple went right through the box and into the screen. For a console that costs $800 Canadian and is very limited, that's what you want to see when you get home at midnight to open your Switch 2, because it happened at a midnight launch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no.
I hope GameStop made it right. I actually don't know if they did. All I know is they sold off the stapler after. They're like, hey, look, the stapler, everybody. It's a meme. And as soon as a company gets in on a meme, it's no longer cool. So
they had to have. If they made like public like recognition that it happened, they had to have like given him another one. I'd hope so. Someone tell us if they didn't.
I'd be so pissed off if like I got home. It was 1 a.m. I finally got my Switch 2 open and unboxed. I've been waiting years for this thing, and there's a staple in the bloody screen. Anyway, it just, it gets under my skin. I don't even want to think about it. It's gore as far as I'm concerned. Video game gore. Okay, let's move on. There were layoffs. So this is the part of the podcast where we start talking about all the bad news. I'm so sorry, true avatars. But bear with us, because there are bad things that happen in the world too, unfortunately. It's not all peaches and roses and daisies. Is there a Mario character called Rose? There should be. Okay, anyway, there were layoffs. So Avalanche has canceled their Xbox game Contraband, and they announced layoffs related to that. So they're closing their Liverpool studio, and they're also reducing their staff at their Stockholm and Malmo studios. I'm not sure how many people this is going to be, but a whole studio closing cannot be small. They called it, quote, a significant percentage. And so, for reference though, they also closed their Montreal and New York studios last year, and apparently that was around 50 people total between the two studios. So, ballpark, maybe it's about 25 people that are at the Liverpool studio, and then also they're reducing staff at others, so maybe it's, again, close to 50 people they're just, like, getting rid of, unfortunately. And I don't know much about Contraband other than Xbox was funding it. Like, I don't even know if there was a trailer. Like, no idea. Have either of you heard of Contraband or have any thoughts on this?
I had. It was there was an announcement trailer from 2023, but I don't think there was any other news.
Do you know what the game was? Like, what kind of game was it?
Open world co-op action game. I'm vaguely remembering it, but not much more than that.
Until I wrote this news story, I legit thought it was like a reboot of the series Contra.
Okay.
And Contra doesn't really interest me as a gamer, so I literally just I wrote off Contraband immediately, thinking oh, Contra, it's not for me. So there's actually two other rounds of layoffs here. Starbreeze, known for making the Payday series, canceled its Dungeons and Dragons game and laid off 44 of its staff. Apparently they're going to refocus on the Payday series, so I have to guess that is Payday 4. Cleo, you had some thoughts on this.
I love Payday. Let me preface this, but they announced subscription model for Payday 2, which just shows how well Payday 3 is going. Needless to say, not well. It's it's a shame because they struck gold with Payday 2, and they could have done so much more with Payday 3. But that was such a flop on launch. Even with their game before that, set in World War II, it was similar to Payday 2, but different time frame. It sucks to see. Just like, oh no, can see it. You could see it coming just from the way they were monetizing Payday 3 and how they were releasing stuff. It hurts because I love them, but
It also sucks too because like Dungeons and Dragons is kind of like inherently queer for a lot of people, and also like Dungeons and Dragons games right now I feel like are like a license to print money. I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 kind of opened the door for like tons of those games, and I think there's like, I don't know where I read this. It might have been on the podcast, but I feel like I read something like there's like 12 Dungeons and Dragons games in development right now.
I wouldn't be
surprised. Maybe I misheard that. I'm going to check that while people talk about this because I don't actually know.
Dungeons and Dragons, yeah, what you just said is what they think they can get away with. The way they monetize and re-monetize everything that touches a Dungeons and Dragons IP is pretty predatory, to be honest. And it's rough. It's rough being a fan and trying to engage. The way they roll out new systems for the game, like just the tabletop RPG itself versus all the digital assets, access to the books or access to the digital content. Like they're doing some stuff. They're doing a lot. They're doing the most for something that they could just casually make money forever off of. So 12 games, it sounds ridiculous, but that doesn't sound like it. Sounds par for the course for what I've seen.
Yeah. I fully expect to see some really good games. I expect there to be like a couple diamonds in the rough, but like the track record for D&D games is not great, to be truthful. Baldur's Gate 3 really stands out as a cut above, but Larian also makes really good RPGs in general, so that's not surprising.
Yeah, Larian for sure did the work, yeah.
Oh, 100%. And I'm really glad they're not going back to do... I would love to see like a definitive edition of Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm glad they're not doing that. I'm glad they're moving on to the next project.
I cannot find a source for these 12 games in development across multiple studios, so I'm just going to preface that I might be talking out of my butt. So... ignore me. I feel like I read something at some point though that said there were a bunch in development because everyone wanted to cash in on Baldur's Gate 3, and also the fact that like Larian is not making Baldur's Gate 4. So I think Hasbro is looking for someone to make Baldur's Gate 4. But Larian's had that IP for like, what, 25, 30 years at this point? Baldur's Gate 3 was in development for a little while, so like I feel like big shoes to fill basically. I'm not trying to root against whoever gets that license, but like... anyway, back to layoffs here. The Dune Awakening developer, which Dune Awakening I feel like just launched this year, I think, is also laying off staff. They again gave no numbers, but the studio is owned by Tencent, which is the massive conglomerate that has its fingers in a ton of gaming pies, and Tencent can afford to keep people on at literally like probably no detriment to themselves, but whatever. The developer did say, however, that Dune Awakening was, quote, the biggest release we've had in our 32-year-long history of making great games.
Why does this keep happening? Why is that?
I saw a meme that's like, I forget, it's that 3-panel meme where it's like, make a bad game, dead. Make a good game, dead. Make a very successful game, somehow also dead.
It's like the better you make the game, they're like, no, get out of here. Get. What are you doing?
No, the faster you get out. Like, no. Just go faster.
You can't even accept the award that you get for the game that you made. Get out. Like, what are you still doing here?
Yeah, which developer was it that had to go and pick up, was it Life is Strange? I feel like Life is Strange, Deck 9 had some layoffs. I'm going to double check this, but
I brought it up.
There was a developer back in March that was at GDC. I think it was GDC or at some award ceremony. and they didn't even know, like, the devs that went to pick up the award for this game were the devs that had been laid off after the game launched.
Oh no. It was.
And then to make matters worse, that after they went to pick up this award because the studio was a no-show, the studio then cornered them later. I say cornered, like, dramatically, but, like, they basically went to them and said, like, hey, you have to give us this award because it's not yours. And it's like, where were you? So, like, there's really no respect for developers these days. It's really, really sad to see. I met so many cool developers last weekend at QGCon. I want to make it clear that, like, I don't understand how, as a human being, you can treat anyone that way. But also people who work their butts off, making you amazing games. And then you're just like, okay, out the door you go. Like, you made a great game and you're making us lots of money, but it's time to leave. I don't know how you can treat people that way.
But you are right, it was Deck 9.
Was it Deck 9? Okay. Yeah.
We all got laid off, says former Deck 9 narrative designer, after no one was around to pick up Life is Strange Double Exposure's GDC Awards win.
Oh, my memory is good. Okay, so maybe this 12 Dungeons & Dragons game has some merit to it. I'm going to look this up later.
You heard it here. See. Quote us. Yeah.
All right, but we have to move on to some more bad news. Xbox Game Pass is increasing the prices again. So I thought they increased their price like sometime else this year. They didn't, but Xbox has increased their console prices twice this year. However, last year they restructured they renamed all their tiers, restructured them, and also increased the price by I think $3. And now all regions, all tiers are getting a price increase. In the US, it's going up by 50%. So Ultimate is now going to cost $30 a month. Previously rose from $16.99 to $19.99 in 2024. I think that was back in July 2024. So it's been just over a year. In Canada, it's going from $22.99 to $33.99 a month, which is nice that the currency conversion is not 1-to-1, but also it's still very expensive. So it's basically still unaffordable for me anyway. They're also renaming the lower tiers. So Core is being renamed to now Essential, and Standard is now being renamed to Premium. And where have we heard those terms before? Anyone who's subscribed to PS Plus knows that Essential, Premium, and I forget what they call the third tier of PlayStation Plus, but I know the first two are also Essential and Premium. I don't know if the last tier is Ultimate.
It's a really preposterous name. Every time I see it, I roll my eyes. I don't know. It's goofy. It's not. It's yeah. No. It's. And they restructure like this. They restructure it often enough you don't really know what you're getting, and they move stuff around. When you go to the shop, at least for the PlayStation version, it's like tricky to get to the right areas. You can't just search for a title of a game in one spot. You have to go in like either the classics catalog or the shop or the, like you have to go in different places. And Xbox is just like. I'm so bummed. Because I had the PC version of this, and I'm on the fence about if I'm going to keep it or not. It's not affordable. It's like for me, I got on board when it was like $1 for 3 months, and then it was a couple bucks or $4.99 a month, and then went up to $10 a month, and I was like, all right, this is a lot. I could buy my own game pretty soon. And now it's real game prices. Like, I'll just buy a game when I want to buy a game now. Now this isn't economical anymore.
Well, if anyone does want to keep their subscription going a little bit longer, I think you can still buy the individual months or the 6 months or the year off like places like Amazon, Walmart, wherever you can get digital codes. Some places are still selling all their remaining codes at the old price. I personally thought the old price was too expensive. I stocked up on a few months in case there's like a queer game that's on Game Pass that I can I just want to sample it for the purpose of the podcast. So I picked up 3 months worth that I'll probably redeem piecemeal as time goes on. But if you are someone who wants to, I think they stack up to 3 years. I'm not sure if the old codes are going 1-to-1 with a whole month, or if it redeems you pay $22.99 for this code, so you're only going to get 21 days instead of all 30. I don't know, but it is something to keep in mind that some of these codes are still available, at least as of the time of recording now on Friday night, October 3rd. There are still codes on Amazon Canada, for example. I don't know about Amazon US, but Amazon Canada still has codes at the $22.99 price point. So. All right. Are you both ready for the really, really bad news this week?
No, but let's do it.
Okay. So,
yes.
My awkward laughing sound aside, EA is being purchased by Jared Kushner and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, which is a government entity that invests money in public and foreign companies. So they are buying EA for $55 million. Electronic Arts, for anyone who doesn't know what EA is. Electronic Arts, they make all of, like, the EA sports games. When they still had FIFA, when they still call it FIFA, they made FIFA. I think they call it FC now or something like that. Football club.
Sorry, can I just make a quick correction? It is
Yes.
not million, it's 55 billion with a B.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you are completely correct. It is $55 billion.
I was just thinking that's another thing.
I think I read.
Okay.
I think I read it's the second biggest video game company purchase of all time, behind only Microsoft buying Activision.
Oh, God. Ooh.
So, and also apparently the other news is that they're planning to streamline all their workflows with AI. So layoffs are going to be incoming, and they're probably going to be the biggest number of layoffs we've ever seen in one go. If I had to guess.
Boo hiss.
Unfortunately.
Oh, gosh.
But related to the podcast, the bad news is that, guess what? Electronic Arts makes a bunch of queer games. They own BioWare, which is a Canadian developer that, guess what, makes Dragon Age and Mass Effect. They also, makes The Sims 4, which has tons of queer content and a huge queer player base. So, just to set the scene here, some players are worried about what this might mean for these queer franchises. And specifically, BioWare is actually worried about their future. So, I'm just gotta remember which website this came from. Insider Gaming? Yes, this came from Insider Gaming. And so I'm just gonna quote from the article here. Multiple sources within the company have spoken under the condition of anonymity about their feelings over the last 24 hours. Of those who spoke, most believe that BioWare will be one of the first studios to see more cuts when the new group takes over. Quote, "Look at the negativity that came after Dragon Age," said one source. "If we felt it was only going to get worse then, you can imagine what some of us think now." When asked for why they feel that way about BioWare specifically, almost all of them pointed to the discussions that happened after Dragon Age: The Veilguard's release. The company's headcount was cut to less than 100 people after having more than 200 in 2023. While staff reduction is normal for studios after big game releases, the drastic number has people wondering if EA planned for more cuts at BioWare.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Okay, so I'm going to move on here just to the next part of the quote, and that is, the sale of EA to the investor group isn't expected to close until Q1 fiscal year 2027, meaning that studios and employees likely have until at least April 2026 before anything becomes official. Regulators have to approve all this stuff. I don't know if they have to go through regulation, because it's Saudi Arabia buying the company, and not like, it won't be like the FCC in the US approving it like it was with Microsoft and Activision, because they were both American companies. Anyway, that quote ended where I said, before anything becomes official. The rest of it was just my analysis. Continuing here with the quote, "Regarding where things stand with Mass Effect, they are all working under the assumption that the game is going to come out. At the beginning of the year, only a small team was actively working on it, but more resources have recently started to be put into the game. That usually means they're staffing up more, they're spending a little bit more money on it. That means EA is probably giving them more green lights to keep moving forward as they pass through," I think they call them gates, different stages of development. And again, that is my analysis going on there. Continuing with the quote, "We're going to keep working until they tell us we're done," Insider Gaming was told. "It's not the healthiest way to live, but as long as the paychecks keep coming, we're not going to just walk away." I mean, what else can they do, right? Like, you want to keep your job, but also, like, there's this looming shadow of, like I remember when I used to work for Zellers, like, a long time ago, and for anyone who doesn't know, Zellers is, like, the Canadian version of Walmart. Okay, or was. It's gone now. Or actually, it's closer to Target because it's got the red design, but it's like Walmart, Target, that kind of store. Like, it's a department store. When I worked there, it was right when Target bought Zellers, and they didn't buy the company, they bought the buildings, and they basically said, like, okay, we're going to buy your properties, you're going to close Zellers, and we're going to take over, kind of Zellers' share of the market without buying Zellers properly. Mm-hmm. And, like, the second the purchase went through, like, it was immediate, like, managers stopped caring. We were all on edge. Like, are we going to stay working for Target? Thankfully I was starting school, so I didn't have to worry about my job. But anyway, it's a grim time to be working for a company that's been bought, because you don't know about your future. So, like, yeah, it's like good to keep your head down and keep working, but that's just to keep your head above water. That's not like any healthy way to work. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that a lot of, even outside of the gaming industry, that last sentiment, it's not the healthiest way to live, but as long as the paychecks keep coming, we're not going to just walk away. Like, that's a lot of people are feeling that in a lot of industries right now, and especially for, like, you just highlighted all the games that are most interesting to the queer community, especially like live service games where content can just like really like quietly and very easily be removed. Like The Sims, like I could really easily see maybe the pride flags just get kind of yoinked, or but yeah, so it's not a good look. I think this is really something that people should be reasonably concerned about, because Jared Kushner in Saudi Arabia, I'm not going to get into it because it's really tangential, but like the comedy festival or whatever that was just happening this past week, there's a history of censorship and a history of anti-queerness that is not great. It's there. No one has to speculate very far to expect it. So
yeah. Yeah, this will be the first. I don't know if Cleo, if you were going to say something, I'm just going to quickly jump in here and say this. So far, Saudi Arabia has kind of dipped their toes into gaming. Like I think they own 6 or 7% of Nintendo, and like that's not a lot of ownership to affect things. Because like there's like two ways of doing business, right? There's like buying things and just like letting them run as they were before, and just like making the money. Right. But then there's also like you buy something and you want to fundamentally alter it to the way you do business. And so far Saudi Arabia's public investment fund has not bought anything aside from Evo. They bought Evo recently as well, or they bought into it very heavily. But again, it's too soon to tell what they're going to change. But again, we're about to see in the next couple of years these investments that are now like full ownership and not just like tiny little portions, how much they're actually going to change. Like, are they just going to are they going to let queer people go play in Evo in the Saudi Arabia event that I'm sure they're going to host? Or are they going to, The Sims 4? Yeah, we're taking out all the pride stuff. Like they're going to, and also like we haven't seen like they bought Niantic recently too. They didn't buy Niantic. They bought the company. They own a company that bought Niantic, but it's now the public investment fund owns it. And so we haven't seen a lot of Pokemon Go stuff change just yet. But I have to imagine that all the content that's been planned this year since they bought it has kind of been planned well in advance. So we haven't seen those changes yet, but we're on the precipice of all that. Sorry, Cleo, I've been like steamrolling over you.
No, it's fine. It's definitely worrying for the future. I think all the things I was going to say, you both hit. So I'm not sure if I can add much more from my side of things, other than I'm very worried to see what happens with Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and just BioWare in general. Even in the rest of EA, as much as I don't play their games, it is still worrying to imagine the hit that's going to, like the hit that company is going to take is going to be monumental no matter what.
Well, okay, I'll prompt you guys with this question. Do you think Mass Effect 5 is going to come out?
No, not.
And
no.
If it does come out, how queer do you think it's actually going to be?
I'll let you go first. Yeah.
No, please. I have to formulate my thoughts so I don't have like...
No. So, no. Short answer, no, I don't think Mass Effect 5 is going to come out. Just from a money standpoint, there hasn't been enough recent history of it being a moneymaker. From a business standpoint of someone who's not even invested at all, like trying to just remove any interest in the franchise from my analysis here. Not enough recent proof of return on assets, like from someone who's not into video games at all, who just wants to make money. That doesn't sound like a moneymaker. And from the queer angle, no. No. Player sexual at best, but probably not.
I so deeply want to be hopeful, but like Lloyd said, probably not. It's going to be a no, because it is so much it being against like discussing themes of like AI rampancy, the queerness of everything in that game.
Everything.
From the players and the other characters in the world. There's a part of me, I love those games with my whole heart, even though Andromeda was the low point. There is so much good that can come from Mass Effect. I know, like, my heart of hearts, like, yeah, it's coming out, but reality, no, it's probably not gonna happen. Not without significant changes to either, like, the plot structure or, like, the world that it's in. It's gonna be a no for me.
Well, there's the argument that if you got everything that makes it memorable, is it Mass Effect? But also, there is a Mass Effect TV show coming to Amazon Prime that has just entered its casting stage. So, it's possible that the TV show does as well as, oh my gosh, I'm remembering, Fallout. Fallout. That's kind of revitalized that brand as well, because there hasn't been a Fallout game since Fallout 76, right? So, even though there hasn't, like, there's, like, rumors that there might be another Fallout game coming soon, but for the most part, like, I think, like, maybe they weren't even thinking about a new Fallout game until this TV show did really well. So maybe the Mass Effect TV show does really well, and then maybe the Mass Effect TV show, as it stands, is very queer, and its queerness is why it's successful, and maybe, again, that maybe nudges, EA and EA's owners to keep it with its identity. Now, I'm gonna read one more bit of the article here that might give you some hope, because this is something I could see happening, although with some studios it's hit or miss whether this happens and whether it works out. But reading from the article here, Insider Gaming understands that at one point there were talks of EA looking to sell off the studio. Where those ended up, however, is unknown. So maybe, if we're lucky, if EA is planning to kind of gut the studio or change Mass Effect or cancel it or remove all queerness, maybe they might sell off BioWare entirely, and maybe BioWare buys back its independence, maybe BioWare goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
But maybe it saves itself from its, like, they save it from itself kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that. I'll hope for that.
Potentially. Yeah. I'm deeply hopeful with that last part, that maybe they do sell it off. I know the BioWare of today is not the BioWare that made Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. They might not even have the right, if they were to sell off BioWare, would they even have the rights to use the Mass Effect name and those characters? So they might have to start fresh with a new, hopefully sci-fi space adventure, but I can be hopeful that that'll happen.
Dragon Effect.
I'm in.
Dragons in space.
Sold.
I was just thinking, like, a love letter that's very obviously just everything that we liked about Mass Effect, but just different names, different colored, like, things, like, reskinned.
Instructions unclear. Anthem 2 is coming out.
Oh, no, wait, no.
Go back.
Instead of John Shepard, it's just James Shepard.
The last bullet point here that I have is that some players have created a petition for The Sims, asking that the game remain free of censorship, and I'll link that down in the show notes if you're interested in signing. So far, excuse me, last I checked, it did not have a lot of signatures. Hopefully that does pick up some steam. And I'm sure it will pick up more steam if and when EA announces, like, hey, the trans flag is being cut from the game. Because I'm pretty sure, like, a lot of the queer, like, I think a lot of Sims and the money it makes is because it's so queer friendly. So if you take that out, you start to wonder, like, do you have a product at that point? Any final thoughts on this news story before we wrap up?
I've said what I think I feel like I've said what I had to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me. Starting with Lloyd, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me Lloyd_Lloydster on Twitch, Lloyd.Lloydster on Blue Sky and TikTok. And I'm on most social media. I don't know why I do this to myself, but Lloyd Lloydster. And, yep, that's what I'm up to.
Cleo?
You can find me on Instagram at Cleostrophobia. That is claustrophobia, but with Cleo at the front. Or Cleosified on Twitter. Classified with Cleo at the front. I'm very much nowhere on the internet. Don't find me, please.
All right. Well, Cleo and Lloyd are heading out, but after a short break, I'll be back on with Juno to discuss our first thoughts on Ghost of Yotei. Hi, true avatars, and welcome back from the break. Joining me here to talk about Ghost of Yotei is Juno. Juno is a gamer and a trans woman and my friend, and her pronouns are she, her. How are you, Juno?
Hi, Hi, Zoe. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
I was so excited when you reached out and you were like, hey, I want to be on the podcast. Do you have anyone to talk about Ghost of Yotei? Because literally, like 20 minutes before you sent that text, I was like, oh, I got to find someone to talk about Ghost of Yotei, or it's just going to be me rambling for 40 minutes. So I really appreciate that you reached out. So this is great.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this game. It's a sequel to a game that I loved from years ago, and really excited.
Yeah, I'll talk about this a bit later, but I actually didn't get around to playing Ghost of Tsushima. So anyway, I'll just set up the scene here for everyone who might not have heard of Ghost of Yotei, or maybe you heard about it in passing, but you're not sure, or you don't have a PS5, so it's not even on your radar. But Ghost of Yotei is the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. Insofar as it's like a sequel gameplay wise, I don't know if there's any story connections because it's set in like a completely different century, but it's just like visually, aesthetically, gameplay wise, it's like a successor, but it's like otherwise like the main character Atsu has never had any contact with the character from, Ghost of Tsushima. In fact, I can't even remember the Ghost of Tsushima character's name. Do you remember, Juno?
Jin Sakai.
Jin Sakai. Okay, yeah, so I don't think Jin and Atsu ever meet. I don't think like, it's even set in different parts of Japan, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who doesn't know though, Ghost of Yotei is the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, as I said. It features Atsu, who as a young girl, her family was killed by a group of warlords called the Yotei Six. In this opening scene at the beginning of the game, you kind of see this scene happen. And she was left for dead, pinned to a tree with a sword like a katana right through her, shoulder. And she's left to like die as the tree is burning and her family homestead is burning. Somehow she survives. As far as the story goes, I don't actually know how she gets the katana out of her shoulder, but she survives. And 16 years later, she's trained up, she's fought in some wars, and now she's ready to go home to Aza, where the game is set, to kill the Yotei Six and avenge her family. In terms of gameplay, imagine a realistic sword fighting arching gameplay loop that's like open world, like a slower, more grounded, realistic version of Breath of the Wild. The game is inspired by a lot of classic Japanese, like, sword fighting films, specifically Akira Kurosawa. And Atsu is played by Erika Ishii. And Erika Ishii, as I've talked about on the podcast before, is gender fluid, uses any and all pronouns, and is the lead character of this game. Like, they're on the box art, which I think is, like, one of the biggest deals for, like, a trans actor of ever. Even like Hunter Schafer doesn't get to be on a lot of like packaging for stuff that she's in. So I think this is kind of a big deal. However, I will say, as much as I've played at least, which is about 6 or 7 hours, that's where the like LGBT stuff kind of ends for the game. Like, obviously, like Erika Ishii's performance, they're bringing stuff to the role that probably does, their queerness probably does inform the role a bit, but Atsu herself, and I might be going back and forth between talking about Erika Ishii and Atsu. Atsu uses she, her pronouns. She is a cis woman. I don't know what Atsu's sexuality is because there's not a lot of like sex or romance in the game. She's pretty linearly focused on killing the Yotei Six. So, for all I know, she's asexual, but there's no confirmation insofar as I've played. Juno, do you know if there's any kind of like romance or sexual implications in the game?
Yeah.
Because you played a lot further than I did. You said you played, 24 hours of the game so far?
Yeah, something like that. It's been a while since I didn't really check the time. To my knowledge, like you said, she's very driven in her goal, and there's no scene or any characters that were introduced that really had or sparked some kind of emotional or romantic spark. I will say there was one very minor, I know we're obviously going to be avoiding spoilers, but there is one small minor side quest where a man accuses you, or Atsu, of stealing his wife or girlfriend. It was a very brief thing, but there was that kind of like, you stole my wife. And so there was like, oh, I kind of perked up and like, oh, like a woman stealing a woman. Okay, well. And of course the man reacted how anyone would. There wasn't like there wasn't any
like homophobia?
Yeah, it was just like, hey, you stole my wife, and as anyone else would react. But other than that, there was no kind of nod to her sexuality or anything like that.
That's super interesting because at first my first thought was like, well, Atsu in game is very like she's not wearing like very traditional like gendered clothes. Like she's very, I won't call her masculine, but she's not like super feminine either. But whenever you're riding by someone, they immediately identify you as a woman. They're like, there she is. That's the ghost. Like everyone is like after you. Like they know you from the wanted posters, which by the way are like a very vague, like sketch of you. Like it's like so like, it's like a stick figure almost. Like that's how detailed it is. But everyone knows who you are. They know you're a woman. Even as you're riding by, like I whiz by on my horse and they're like, there she is. Like, how did you even see me? Like I'm like a blur right now to you. So that's kind of cool. So I guess this guy did not mistake Atsu for a man when he accused her of stealing his wife. So I'm looking forward to that side quest then, because any little bit of like hint at something, because I wondered too if like there would be like little tiny things that maybe Erika Ishii kind of like not force the devs to do, but like kind of like gently push them to do, especially if you're going to hire someone like Erika Ishii, who I didn't know this, but he used to be a streamer and like influencer well before they were an actor. And yeah, I tweeted this on, well, I skeeted it on Blue Sky, but they used to go to events and stuff, and kind of just like acted like they belonged in certain places, like they pretended to be someone else so they could get in and do interviews and stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was really cool, to see an influencer go from like just like influencing to like being the lead star in this like $100 million Sony Studios game. So
it's funny you mention that, because I know Erika mainly from their work with Dropout TV, if you're familiar, previous College Humor YouTube channel. But they're also a part of a lot of D&D live play shows.
That I did know, yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been aware of them for years, and I've seen them play many characters. And so it's really funny playing this game where sometimes I'll be playing and it's like, yes, this is Atsu. There's a voice actor playing this character. And then, especially during the cutscenes when like the resolution or like the facial features is more pronounced, I feel like there's moments where it cuts to Atsu's face and it's like, oh shoot, yeah, that's Erika Ishii. It's like, it kind of catches me off guard like that.
Yeah, actually, speaking of like seeing her face in the game, like I mean Atsu's face, there's a lot of like the first hat you're kind of wearing, and I didn't realize you could change it, and also I didn't bother changing it at first because I realized there was no stat changes, and I was like, well, why would I change my clothes? But anyway, I eventually did. But there's like the way the game is lit, like you can almost never see Erika Ishii's face. Like it's almost like this, like they've got this brim of a hat. And then so like whenever the sun is like glaring on you or the lighting in the room is glaring on you, like her face is in half shadow. So then eventually, yeah, I did get some clothing and some headgear that like would allow me to see Erika Ishii's actual performance, because like most of that was like lost. Like I was a little disappointed that the game didn't do anything to kind of like adjust for the lighting changes and showing Erika Ishii's face. So let's talk a little bit about the combat. I found the combat difficult and challenging at first. I'm playing on medium difficulty. For anyone listening who doesn't know, there are a bunch of difficulty options in this game, but not only is there's like a story level, like baby ass baby mode. There is, like an easy mode. There's like a medium. There's a hard, and then there's like instant kill. Like if you get hit by one sword strike, you die. I am not playing on that difficulty because I am very bad at video games. But if you want to, you can customize difficulty to be like, oh, you want combat to be easy, but you want like exploration to, I forget what I wrote it down here. So, the 5 things you can actually alter are enemy aggression, timing windows, enemy damage, stealth, and hero bonus perks. Okay. So I thought there was exploration, but there is not. So basically you can like set like enemy aggression to like impossible, and you can set timing windows to easy, if you wanted to. I didn't adjust any of these things because I didn't, when they prompt you to do that, I didn't know what I wanted out of the game. So I was like, well, I'm just going to pick medium and hope that you can change it later. So anyway, Juno, what difficulty did you pick, and how are you finding the gameplay?
Well, I originally started on hard because I thought, I played Tsushima, and so I thought, yeah, let's get into hard. I almost 100%ed Ghost of Tsushima, and I went back to restart from the beginning in the Kurosawa black and white mode on the extreme difficulty. And I was playing for a lot of hours and I barely made it through, like, made any progression in that. So I can only assume that the extreme difficulty is going to be just the same in Yotei. I started on Herd and I got into one combat that I was screaming at my computer or my PlayStation for. I was doing the same fight over and over for 30 minutes. And sometimes I would die in the first 6 seconds of combat. And so after that, I then bumped it down to medium, and I've been playing on that since. Difficult is going to be really difficult. Like
you can't cheese anything. You can't brute force anything.
Yeah, it's really, really tough, and you definitely need to know the controls, know the systems, the pairing mechanics, everything like that. I would suggest, if by the time you get towards the end of the game and you have upgraded weapons and that sort of thing, to maybe try and bumping it up to Herd just to see what it's like. But yeah, I feel like medium is a good start for anyone, really.
Yeah. So the game teaches you a bunch of stuff right off the bat, and it's one of those games where like they kind of like throw everything at you very early on, and then you kind of have to hope for the best later. So when you're sword fighting, there's parrying mechanics, there's blocking mechanics, and there's dodging mechanics, and you have to use all of these. Like, you can't just like go in, button mash, and hope for you can't do any of that. Like, you have to figure out, like, you can't win a fight if you can't parry, you can't win a fight if you can't dodge. And the game is like pretty good about like giving you like a color coded like indicator of like what you need to do each time an enemy is about to do something. Like, there's like, if there's no color, you can just block the attack. But then there's like a blue light, like a light blue kind of light you can see from the sword of your enemy. There's a red, and there's gold. So light blue is basically means like you have to parry this. Red means it's an attack that you can't block, so you need to dodge. And then there's gold, which is like this attack lands, it's gonna disarm you. And almost always, I find the gold attacks are almost always 2 or 3 hits, whereas the red and the blue are like 1. Like they'll come at you once and then they'll go back to standard attacking. And if you can't remember that color coding at first, like, you're going to keep dying. Like, you will lose, you'll get disarmed. And like medium difficulty, like, I take like maybe, like, you lose health, and I've upgraded my health a lot, and I lose health really quickly no matter how much I have. So.
Yeah, I find that basically the gold mechanic is kind of similar to the standoff, where it's like, yes, it's in a real-time combat, but it's kind of like that moment where you size up the person who's... Well,
let's talk about the standoff mechanic, because I think it's really cool. Do you want to explain what that is for listeners who don't know?
Yeah, so the standoff mechanic is very Akira Kurosawa. It's when you first approach a group of enemies, such as at a base camp, or even just wandering through the wilds, and you have an option to press a button when you encounter these groups, and you can have a standoff encounter. And basically, it's a one-on-one mechanic where you hold down a button, and it's timed, so you have to wait for the person to react and attack. And when you release the button, you immediately do a one-hit kill. Again, very Akira Kurosawa's one swipe, and that enemy dies. And the surrounding enemies then begins to engage you in an actual fight. I remember this in Tsushima, and it was so cool having that, seeing that, and so yeah.
Well, okay, let's talk a little, because this is a gaming podcast. You and I both come from film, which is super cool, but because we're like film people in the gaming space right now, you and I both know a lot about Akira Kurosawa.
Yes, I realized that.
For people who might not know, Akira Kurosawa was a Japanese filmmaker. He was like the George Lucas, the Steven Spielberg, like before there was George Lucas's and Steven Spielberg's in Japan. And he made a lot of like Japanese Westerns. Basically, like, he inspired, all his movies inspired, like, Star Wars, inspired The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and stuff like that. So, the most famous one is called Seven Samurai. And so, It's a podcast. Like, I'm not going to show footage of it because it's copyrighted, and also for audio listeners, that would be effectively useless. But I highly recommend going on YouTube and like watching some clips from Seven Samurai, and you kind of see like how that story inspired Star Wars. You can see how that story inspired like a lot of modern filmmaking. And so Ghost of Yotei and Ghost of Tsushima are heavily inspired by those movies, that director's filmography. And also, because those movies are so heavily inspirational of this game, there's also a visual mode you can add to the game in settings to make it look like those movies. So it becomes black and white, high contrast. Did you say you've been using the Akira Kurosawa mode?
When I played Tsushima, my second time, I did. I'm not sure specifically, but I also want to say that, like, when in that black and white mode, it also adds that kind of film grain to it that flickers. But I also kind of want to say that it also changes the audio to be more like a mono sound. Or at least it makes it sound like an older 50s, 60s movie versus like the high definition surround sound that we have now in gaming. I'm not too sure about that. I'm not an audio person, but
I haven't played the Kurosawa mode, but I do know that like the surround sound is so good in this game that it was freaking my dog out. Like, she heard them like, normally the surround sound is very quiet unless it's something very specific in a movie or a game that they want you to hear behind you. But because you're constantly surrounded by enemies in this game and they're shouting at you, it's like I can hear them all around my apartment and in my living room. It's really cool. My dog disagrees. She doesn't like it, but
yeah. I really suggest that if people you really should experience this game, especially if you didn't play Tsushima, in the regular color format because of how beautiful this game is. But once you, again, halfway through the game, if you want to change it, it is really interesting to play even like a few hours in the black and white mode.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the visuals, because that's one thing, like, I compared it to Breath of the Wild, but like there's a lot of ways it varies from Breath of the Wild. And the first one is like, if you're thinking like, oh, this is like the next Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, like, cool your jets, because like it's a lot in terms of like gameplay loop, but there's no puzzles in this game. It's more of a social element where you're trying to like meet people and help people as you go on your journey. And then like when you help people or you almost like you're about to kill them and you give them mercy if they give you information on the Yotei 6. You're basically trying to find information to fill out your map so you can go find more places so you can fill out more of your map. But also visually speaking, like it's much prettier than Breath of the Wild. Like it looks realistic. Like some of the character models and lighting a little bit in certain scenes, like, okay, I see these are video game models, but the actual like overworld, like the overworld and the environment, like as far as I'm concerned, like I was looking at a picture.
Yeah, especially during the cinematic cutscenes. Like I mentioned with Atsu's face, it looks like a movie at some points.
Yeah, and it's directed like one too. Like they clearly they make their shot choices very, like even when you're riding in the open world, actually I find this annoying personally. Like I understand why they do it and I'm getting used to it, but I'm not a fan of it because I like my character centered. I like my camera in a certain spot, but this game is very much forcing you to kind of keep your camera where they want you to keep it. So like when you're riding your horse and you're like riding really fast through like some flowers where you get like a speed boost, it puts you on the left side of the screen. So like it angles you up as if you're like watching the horse ride and like run in a movie. Which like is like I think looks really cool, but also just annoys me from like a gameplay standpoint.
Yeah, I think they really go for like the cinematic, no heads up display kind of feel for this. Not having a heads up display I completely understand why, because it's like a cinematic event or experience. Sometimes I just want to know where north is without having to pull up the map. And it's like, I know I'm heading north, but then I have to open the map to make sure my arrow is pointing the right way. And so it can be a little annoying. I haven't gone through the options. Maybe there is a setting that you can turn that stuff on, but I'm not sure.
Well, there are a lot of adjustable settings, but one of my favorite things about the game, I've been using it a lot because sometimes I'm like, I'm just lost and I don't know. I specifically want to get to a part of my map. And I'll be so for context, there's a mode, not a mode, but like a feature where if you want to set a waypoint on your map to guide you there, there's no like, obviously there's no like mini map in the HUD, right? Like there's no HUD. Instead, the game will like blow you in that direction, basically. Like you'll see a visual representation of the wind, and the wind will not only like kind of like push you in that direction, but also like you can see like it's leading you in the exact like linear direction to the next point on your map where you want to go. Have you been using that feature?
I just recently, so there's a setting where when you swipe on the control pad to activate the wind to get your sense of directions, I just recently turned on the setting where the camera will turn to that direction, so you know which direction you're going. Yeah. I found that sometimes when I activated the wind before, I couldn't really tell which direction it was. Like I couldn't tell if it was going left to right or right to left. So turning on that setting, it does have some annoying parts to it where I may be on my horse, the camera turns, and then I run into a rock or something. But I did see a lot of the settings for like the wind visuals, and I'm not sure about the, say, like color blindness, like you mentioned, the blue, red, and gold combat cues. I'm curious what that would be like, especially in Kurosawa mode. Like I said, I played it in Tsushima, but that was years ago, and so at this point I forget what that's like.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, about accessibility settings. That's a good point. I do know though, at least to some extent, I know it's not perfect, but there is some like textural and shape differences in each of the mornings. So like when the light blue comes up, like it's a very thin, like diagonal line, and then the red is horizontal and a little bit more like ovular, and then I think the gold is like vertical ovular, and it has like a twinkling effect in it too. So like those elements might translate to black and white, but it still wouldn't be as ideal. But yeah, I mean,
there's a part of me that's also like, Kurosawa mode, they may still use the blue and red. Yeah. Again, I forget. Yeah,
I wanted to test it, but also I only played a few hours, and honestly, I was enjoying the rich colors, like the HDR, the wider color gamut, just like, this is like the first game I've played on my PS5. Like I played Astrobot and Spider-Man. I think they looked, and Spider-Man 2. I think they looked like very gorgeous, but this is the first time where I was playing a game and like I went through all three different visual settings on like in the menu. So like there's quality, performance, and like kind of a mix between both. And I turned them all on, and I thought they all looked like very similar to each other. Very like they were all gorgeous. And so I didn't want to turn off the colors because I was like, these are so rich and beautiful to look at. Like, it's just eye candy. Even when I'm frustrated and like, I went through this like one encampment where like, or like a stronghold, I forget what they call it, but like, I went to the south of the map, like the very south, and there's like this like stronghold, and I went through and I like picked off everyone, and then inside there's like an inner stronghold where you go in and you fight this dude called like, I can't remember what he's called, but he's got like a title, and he's got like full body armor, like full samurai body armor, and he like takes a lot of hits to kill, and he's got guys chasing after you while you're fighting him, and I couldn't beat him. I tried like 30 times and I couldn't do it. I got really close once, but then I lost, and then the game starts you off at the beginning of the encampment again, and you have to pick off everyone and then go back through, like there's no checkpoints in there, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, so anyway, I forgot why I was rambling about that, but have you been doing a lot of the side stuff in the game? Because there's like a ton of side stuff.
Yeah, I have. Like I said, I'm 24 hours in, let's say. I feel like if I was really story driven and just get to those main plot points, I'd be a lot further in.
Would you find it, without all the upgrades you get from the side quests though, would you find the combat more difficult had you not done the side stuff?
I want to say you don't really get that much benefit from the side quests. A lot of side quest stuff is you earn money, you earn clothing that doesn't give you any benefits.
So have you been upgrading your skill tree though? Like, because there's like a lot of skills.
Yeah,
everything has a skill tree.
There's that, yes. In terms of finding temples or bamboo strikes, yes, I guess I have been upgrading that sort of thing.
Do you like the bamboo mini game? Sorry, I'm tangenting here, but like, can you explain for listeners and for the viewers what the bamboo mini game is and how much of a pain in the ass it is?
So again, very Japanese cinema, like, there's these areas where there's a set of bamboo stacks, and the mini game is supposed to hone your ability with your blade. And so you approach these stacks of bamboo, and it's kind of a quick time event to some degree, where it will show you a display of button combinations that you need to hit, and you need to hit them on the controller in pretty rapid succession. Like really
rapid. Like there's no room for error.
You can take a moment and actually think about it, but yeah, like, so each station has like a 3 and 5 and a 7 bamboos, and that's up to 7 button presses that you have to do. Funny story. The first stack that, I did, for some reason, I was good during Tsushima, but for some reason, coming back to this feature, I could not do it. And towards the end, I failed like 7 times, and it eventually just gave me the control pad, like left, down, right, up, left, down, like just go in a circle on the D-pad. And it's like, okay, this is literally just spoon feeding me.
Yeah, it did the same thing for me when I went up the mountain to get the dual katana.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, very anime and Japanese cinema, as where you see the master cut the bamboos. Obviously, it's in real martial arts too. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting mini games as well. One small kind of feature I want to bring up is the paintings that you can find and do in the wild.
I like those.
So you can, across the landscape there, you can find some areas where you can paint. Just little scenarios where it's like a pond and a tree and maybe a crab or a duck. This feature is taken over from the haiku from Tsushima. So in Ghost of Tsushima, you're playing as Jin, the samurai, and I feel like haiku and Jin's backstory is very connected, and growing up as a samurai and being raised in this lordship or this kind of nobility, I feel like that really connects to him. Side note, I think I heard that haiku didn't actually come into Japan until like a few hundred years after Tsushima's taken place. But going back to Yotei, Atsu and her painting, I feel like, is really connected to her backstory with her mother and her family. So I'm a little sad that the haikus are gone, but I feel like the paintings do make a good replacement.
Yeah, and they kind of prime you for those mini games at the start when you have to kind of draw the kanji. Yeah, the kanji. Like you paint them on. And then what I really like is like the opening of the very opening of the game is like, so there's 6 members of the Yotei that you're trying to kill. And the game starts you off fighting the first guy, the snake. They all have like animal names. And so you're fighting the snake as like your tutorial boss. And when she's done, like the things that you drew on, like you draw on the kanji for each of the Yotei 6. And she's got this like sheet with all of them on it. And it's like, that's her kill list. And so when you finish killing the snake, the blood on her sword, she wipes it on the banner across his name as if to cross it out. And I thought that was so badass. I love that. And I'm like, this is the only reason I want to like rush through the story so I can watch her do that each time.
So one thing that I did note was, again, Erika Ishii, D&D characters, that's where my mind's at. One thing I love about character design is when you can look at a character and you get a sense, or you know something about them immediately. And seeing Atsu with that cloth and the names and the blood crossing out, like that, you immediately know what her goal is.
Yeah, I love that. I like I feel like she's very hyper focused. Like there's like a very intense hyper focus from her in what she wants to do, to the point where like when you sit down at a camp, which is also a really cool mechanic. But when she sits down at a camp and she talks to someone and she talks about something that's not related to, like killing Yotei 6, it's kind of like jarring. I'm like, oh yeah, she does have other facets to her. She's just really hyper focused on killing people right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the camping mechanic at all? Because I like it a lot. I don't know how you feel about it.
I'll let you take that. I feel like I mainly just go there, get the benefits, check for things, and then I immediately back out. All I'll say is that the cooking mechanic was not something that I liked to do, or I didn't care for in Legend of Zelda. Making that comparison again. So I'm very much just in and out when it comes to camping.
That's fair. So in the game though, there's this, you camp, right? And the game will prompt you if you're in a certain area. Do you want to camp here? You press, I think, left on the D-pad. I think it's left. It might be right. Left is also calling your horse, but you're on your horse at that point. Anyway, so you sit down at a camp and you can restore your health. There's a bunch of stuff you can do at the camp. But when you start to camp, there's like a little mini game where you are using, the touchpad on the DualSense. And I'm trying to show it here on the visual version of the podcast, on the video version. But basically you're like swiping forward as if you're trying to light a fire. And then, when you've lit you've kind of like lit the fire a little bit, then you're using the R2 trigger very gently to press in. And you're also aiming at each of the, I don't want to call them tinders, I want to say, but you're aiming at the little, like, the firewood to get it on. You're basically blowing at it. And you have to blow at each flame to like get it to like become bigger. Anyway, describing that very badly, I just thought it was a very fun little mini game, and there's so much haptic feedback and so much almost in the DualSense, I think there's a little bit too much of the rumble. They use it a lot. And I think they should pull back just a tiny bit because it gets a little bit annoying, especially when you're not doing anything. It's like rumbling, and I'm just like, chill. Like, I don't need to feel the rumble. But anyway, the camping itself though is really cool because when you sit down at a camp, one of the NPCs that you've already met will come to visit you and chat with you, and you can get like an upgrade, you can get information. And actually, the only thing I found disappointing about it is that you can exhaust the dialogue options very quickly on that. And I was like really hoping for like a nice long, like 20-minute, like, oh, I hope there's a lot to talk about here, and just like sit and like shoot the crap with someone. But there's like lots of other stuff you can do at the camp. You can, upgrade your weapons. You can play, oh my God, I can't remember the name of the instrument she plays, like the guitar.
I was meaning to make a note of it. The 3-stringed instrument.
Yeah, anytime there's a music mini game in a Sony game, there's one in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I hate. There's one in The Last of Us Part 2, which I hate, and there's one in this, which I hate. Thankfully, all of these games, it's kind of optional, except for like the occasional story element, but like, I'm very bad at playing music, especially music that isn't like, I'm okay at the drums, but like, if there's notes involved, no. It's like over for me. So when these games make you like play notes and like even like in a horrible way too, where you're just like aiming like a D-pad at something, I'm just like, no, thank you. I don't want to do this. I don't care. So I almost never play the guitar at camps, but I like cooking, especially when they like give you the mushrooms. Like you can like turn your controller over to like aim the mushrooms at the fire, which I think is really fun. But honestly, I just like it when I sit down at the camp and I'm like, oh, hey, that NPC I met like an hour ago is showing up to talk to me. And like sometimes like merchants that you've talked to also show up and they're like, hey, you can buy and sell here and you don't have to go and visit them. And they'll give you a little piece of information about the Yotei 6 to add to your map. And then, so I'm rambling a little bit here, but there's also the map element where when you get information from like travelers, when you buy map elements, it doesn't just add to your map. It gives you like a little piece of a map, and you have to like match up the shapes on that map with the shapes on the main map. So you have to hover over, find where it is. And then once you've done that, it adds it to your map proper. And then you can actually like choose it as a waypoint. It's kind of annoying. When you have a bunch of them, it gets a little exhausting, but I also like it. Just like when you figure out that little bit of the puzzle, it just feels very satisfying. And I feel very smart, even though it's very simple.
Yeah, I really like the cartographer NPC that you buy all these small pieces of maps from. And it really does make sense. Like if someone has a treasure map, let's say, they're not going to draw the map of the entire country and then be like, X marks the spot. It's going to have a kind of regional thing. And like you're going to know where the treasure is buried to some degree. So it's just having that little section that you have to then match up is really interesting. Yeah.
I also like that he's selling them. Like he's like clearly in business for himself. which makes a lot of sense because like cartography is like a skill, it's a profession, and like in most games when you get information for a map, it's just like there it is, like you don't pay for it. So this guy selling his stuff, like as a business, like it just makes sense. Like you're spending all this time like going to find stuff. Not only are you exploring to go find stuff, you're gathering information, but you're also taking the time to draw out. Like you don't have a print. Like I'm assuming he doesn't have a printing press. I don't know for sure, but like he's probably hand drawing everything, right? So like if he's selling 2 copies of a map, he's got to draw both copies, right? Mm-hmm. And probably like work from a master copy that he's using. So it makes a lot of sense that you have to buy them. And there's lots of ways to earn money in the game from like bounties and actually, I like how everything in this game too, like gets you some kind of upgrade. Like I went for my first bounty, which was at a cemetery. And it was actually like a much more complicated quest than I thought, but I really enjoyed it. Like you're going through different parts of the cemetery and like I'll spoil this one because it's one of the most early bounties, but you go to the cemetery and you're investigating where this person is. And then you run into a Ronin who's like, hey, I'm also here for the bounty. So you're going to have to kill me too. Or like he's trying to kill you, obviously. And you fight him and then you go fight the guy for the bounty. And then after you complete that, you are then fighting like 3 guys who come and corner you like, hey, that was our bounty. Like, why did you do that? And then at the end of that, like they give you an altar. Not only do you get the reward from the quest and like all the experience from the fight. I mean, there's no like XP traditionally. It's just like you've like learned something from combat yourself. And then afterwards you get an altar, which is basically like an upgrade spot too. Like you didn't even know there was going to be one there, but there at the end of the cemetery is like, you also get this extra upgrade too. So have you done a lot of I'm assuming 24 hours in, you've done a bunch of the bounties.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this because that's something new to Yotei. So Tsushima
because she's
was
more of an outlaw and Jin Sakai was more of like someone who's like more good and like because he was like nobility.
Ghost of Tsushima was very like the Mongols are attacking. There's this clear good group, like the Japanese, and then the bad group for the Mongol invaders. And so there were no real like bounties. Like the goal is to kill all the Mongol invaders, right? And that being said, that also brings up a point where it's like in Tsushima, Jin is really it's kind of like the story of his kind of downfall from like a lord, like nobility, and having to become this ghost. I feel like when we start with Atsu, she's already kind of like she's not nobility, she's more or less like just a commoner, and so there is nothing like just kind of lost for words.
No, you're good. I know.
In terms of like the bounties, something I also noticed about the bounties is that sometimes it's like, hey, this person is a servant of Lord Sato. I forget his name.
Saito? We're talking
Saito.
About the leader of the Yotei 6,
the
right?
big bad. Yeah. It's like this
Saito,
person, this wanted posters for this person who serves the evil guy. And then there's also posters where this person has been fighting Lord Sato's men and the group. And so it's like, well, do I really want to kill this person? Because technically they're helping me. And so I kind of laughed to myself because I've never taken a bounty that was put out by the group of 6. So I just want to also clarify that I'm the type of person that, yes, I've played 24 hours. I struggle with names and group names and stuff. Like I can watch an entire TV show. No, I'm just saying, like I can watch an entire TV show, like a season, and it's like, who's that second main character name? I don't know. So
I'm the same way.
I struggle with names, especially. Yeah.
So I don't think there's any kind of like in-game like honor system or like there's no mechanic though for like if you take only bounties from one group or the other. Like it doesn't differentiate. Yeah. Like she's just an outlaw who is doing anything in her quest. She does help people. Like she does have her own set of morals, but it's not a moral mechanic in the game. Like if she meets someone good, she generally tries to help them. But as far as I can tell, like when you're opening the gambling house, like the guy tries to kill you after you help him. And there's a dialogue tree where you can kind of go forward and kind of antagonize him more. And I'm not sure if that leads to you fighting him again.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I resolved that peacefully.
Same.
And yeah. So, by the way, the gambling game in Yotei is very fun, and I spent like easily an hour just playing it. There was one time I lost like 4,000 currency, and that was
I think
basically
the
all
currency
my
in this
money.
game is called Mon, M-O-N.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the it's Zeni Hajiki, I think is what it's called. Let me just double check that I got that. Yeah, Zeni Hajiki is this gambling mini game, and it's in the gambling house, and it's technically gambling because you wager money against your opponent. But as far as I'm concerned, if you wanted to play this game in real life, you could just play it without money. And basically, the way it works is like, actually, sorry, you've played a lot of it. Do you want to explain how it works?
Yeah, I'll try. Basically, so. I'm not familiar with a lot of different RPG gambling games. Like I know, famously Gwent from the Witcher series. I don't know anything about this, so pardon my explanation. But basically, the game is you're on a round table. A bunch of coins are placed on the table at random with a few, I guess, bowls in the way as acting as obstacles. And the objective is to use the right trigger as like your finger flicking the coin, and your goal is to flick one coin into another without knocking a coin onto the ground or hitting a second coin. And if you're able to hit a single coin and nothing else, then you're able to go again. And the goal is to do that 6 times before your opponent. And
right. Yeah, each time you hit a coin successfully, you get to keep the coin that you flicked as reward, as your that's your counter, right? Like your score.
Yeah. And there's been times where I start, I get 5 coins, I mess up my last shot, and then the NPC comes in and takes all 6, and then I lose. That
oh my gosh,
happens.
That's so scary.
It's a really fun game though. I would if I were to play this in real life, I would use something maybe like poker chips, something with like some weight to it. I guess you could use like just actual currency, like quarters or loonies for us Canadians. But yeah. No, that's a great explanation. I only played like the 2 that you can play at the start because I didn't have a lot of money to lose, so I didn't want to like risk it. But like if they gave you an option to just play without risk of losing money, I think I would spend a lot of time playing it. In fact, I think it's such a simple concept for a game that like I want to try playing it in real life. But you mentioned poker chips. I think flicking like loonies or anything kind of like more metal might eventually hurt your like fingertips or nails, because like flicking metal coins is like, this is going to sound very pathetic of me, but like it hurts. Like it's not like comfortable. So I would prefer to, use something a little bit lighter that like still kind of functions the same way. I feel like you also want to, getting real detailed here, I feel like you want to also worry about like the friction of the whatever you're flicking on the wooden surface or whatever table you're on, because you don't want something to like completely slide across the table easily. So you want something small and heavy. Poker chips was the first thing that I thought of. So, yeah.
For poker chips too, I think the biggest thing too is like if you're going to use something that's like different in terms of like weight or friction, you'd want whatever it is to be the same thing all across the board. Like if you were going to use quarters or loonies, like you couldn't use quarters and loonies. I feel like that would be unfair to the player and your opponent. But yeah, no, this is a game that I was like, I could play this in real life. This looks great. Like I would have to get a small round table for this to work. But like, I was like, this is very simple. Like whenever a game introduces a new minigame to me, especially that's gambling related, I'm like, oh great, how many new rules I'm going to have to learn on top of all the new game mechanics I just learned in the last like 4 hours of gameplay. And this was like super simple. It was like, flick the coin. I was like, okay, I can get into this, because when I first started learning Queen's Blood in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I was like, this is overwhelming. I don't understand it. It's hard. I played a few more matches because it's kind of required by the story to do this like whole Queen's Blood tournament. And by the end of that tournament, I was addicted to Queen's Blood to the point where I'm like, I need Square Enix to do what they always do and make a spin-off just for Queen's Blood. Like, I know it's going to be back in the next game, but like the way the game works, it's really not easy to play in real life. So I need them to do a whole, like, I will pay them whatever they want, $90, $100. I don't care. Just give me a Queen's Blood spinoff. At this point too, I would also play a spinoff just with Zeni Hajiki, because I was addicted.
Yeah, same.
Is Zeni Hajiki, is it in Ghost of Tsushima? Is there an equivalent?
I'm trying to think. It's definitely not in there in the game. I'm just trying to imagine if there was a there must have been some kind of gambling game that I'm just forgetting.
That's fair. Well, I've kind of gone through all my notes that I had for everything I've played, without spoiling too much. Oh, actually, the only thing I didn't talk about that I think that's a good point to end on too, is let's talk about the wolf mechanic. So at the beginning of the game, for anyone who hasn't seen trailers or anything, you start the game with a wolf who kind of like helps you in that opening bit. And then the wolf, I thought the wolf was like her companion and like stuck around, but the wolf disappears. But randomly, if you are in a fight and you die, this wolf will come out of nowhere, like not all the time, but like sometimes will come out of nowhere and give you an extra health bar and attack the enemy that's trying to kill you and take them down for you. So anyway, the wolf is also upgradable. The wolf also has a skill tree. So you can, the first thing I did was like, there are like two options. There's like, make it so, the wolf will attack more enemies, and also the wolf will stick around if it shows up. Cause after it attacks the one enemy, on the basic version of the skill tree before you've upgraded anything, it just disappears after that. Like it comes in, helps you, and F's off, right? But, you can make it so the wolf sticks around after it shows up randomly and attacks other enemies. Then you can upgrade it even further where like, oh, it'll kill two enemies when you like, anyway, have you been upgrading the wolf?
Yeah, I have. The first time that I had that encounter, it really threw me off because there was at the very beginning of the game, there was no, like, hi, wolf companion. Oh, you want to help me in combat? Okay. There was that one combat that I was doing for a very long time. And then one of the times that I was dying, all of a sudden this wolf came out of nowhere. First time for me. So I was like, wait, what the heck is happening? And it really threw me. And then all of a sudden I was standing back up. It's like, okay, so now, and then I continue fighting, and it really threw me off. I also was confused by the randomness of it. I thought it was like, maybe I pressed a button and I had like a charge or something that I was able to summon the wolf. And then after a while, I realized it was random. And I have been, because you go around and you can find these wolf dens, and that's how you trigger the event to then upgrade your friendship with this wolf. I have gone around the early stage to upgrade, and then, of course, like any kind of RPG like that, it's like, oh, there's a wolf den, let me do this, but I haven't actually been seeking them out recently. I will say, I don't think it's a spoiler, but I've gotten to the point where I've got to name the wolf.
You get to name the wolf? Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay.
So yeah. That's my little.
What did you name your horse? You also get to pick a horse at the beginning of the day. So what I thought was strange was that you have a horse and then you get to pick a new horse, and then you can either keep your old horse or pick a new horse. And I was like, the game takes the guilt off you about abandoning your previous horse by saying like, well, he's old and he needs a rest. You've been riding him a lot, right? Which horse did you pick and what did you name them?
Okay, I just want to speak to everyone who has played Ghost of Tsushima right now and just say, picking your horse's name and the trauma that comes with that. I hope that whoever's listening, if you played the game, you know what I mean when I say that, but of course you never played the first game, so you don't know. I honestly, again, I forget what I named my my horse. It comes with 3 different options, so you can't like type in the name.
Yeah.
So I know that I took the name that was most familiar with me. So like, with the wolf, do you want me to tell you what I named the wolf, or do you want? Yeah. So the wolf I named Kiba, just because growing up I watched Naruto, and so there was a character named Kiba who was very wolf centric, and so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll name the wolf Kiba.
Was that a list of options they give you, or was that you could type it in?
No, you can't type it in. So it gives you a list of 3 options, and then you press the button, like circle, triangle, X, that sort of thing. But yeah, again, I don't think it's a spoiler, but I'm glad that you have something to look forward to.
Also, I realized at the beginning of the podcast I didn't say this, but it is a PlayStation 5 exclusive game. It's not on PC. That's on me. I've been talking about the DualSense the whole time, so I'm sure people have clued in or people know, but Ghost of Yotei is exclusive to PS5. It's not on PS4. It's not on Nintendo Switch. It's not even on PC yet. I'm sure eventually it will come to PC, but I don't think we'll ever see this game on a Nintendo console. Not only because of exclusivity, I can't speak, but also because, like, it just it runs too well to, like, it looks too good on the PS5 for this to ever run on a Nintendo Switch. Like, it would be heavily downgraded to get it running on a Switch or a Switch 2, but yeah, I like that you can name the wolf. And I think that's a good point too, because we're almost at time here, but I wanted to ask if you had any other final thoughts about the game before we wrap up.
One thing I do want to mention is just historically, I think it's really interesting and, well, very appropriate that in the game they have the Ainu people, the Anu. I'm sure you've come across some traveling kind of nomadic people. The Anu are kind of basically the indigenous people of Japan who were moved or lived in Hokkaido, what we know as Hokkaido, and now back then was Izo, I believe. Mm-hmm. I remember learning about the Anu people and a while ago, and it was really nice to see when I interacted with the NPC and it was the Anu people. I thought, oh wow, that's really interesting. And so I just wanted to give a nod to the developers for incorporating that. I guess some people may not know where Mount Yotei is, but the game takes place in the northern island of Japan. I find it's kind of funny how the NPCs in the game will say the mainland of Japan, but obviously Japan is an island as well. But yeah, so that was just one thing that I wanted to mention.
Is Mount Yotei in real life, is that the main mountain at the center of Hokkaido?
I wouldn't say it's a little, especially for me, I feel like everyone knows like the main mountain of Japan.
Like Mount Fuji, yeah.
Fuji. I'd say, well, where you can see Mount Yotei in the game map is basically where it is in real life. Like, it's in the southern area. I want to say maybe southwest of the city of Sapporo, if you know your Japanese geography.
I don't know Japanese geography, but I know Pokemon geography, which is based on Japan. So I guess my question is, because I'm a nerd and I love Pokemon, is it Mount Coronet in the Pokemon games? If you know it. I don't know if you do. But
is that Sinnoh?
Sinnoh, yeah, which is based on Hokkaido. But I don't know how many mountains there are in Hokkaido proper. I just know in Sinnoh there's like one mountain that kind of represents like the equivalent to like a Mount Yotei in the game.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Obviously, there's other large mountains in the Hokkaido region, but this game uses Yotei as the basis. I really do like the idea of being able to set these games in what is now a franchise in different time periods, but also different regions. So, like, I know there's a bunch of other areas of Japan that we could have future games for and be interesting to see.
Do you know, I'm looking this up right now, but do you know when Ghost of Yotei is set?
I wanted to write 1600s, like early, like.
Okay.
I mean, a quick Google search was like 1603 or something. Tsushima was 1270, which heavily obviously it was based around a historical event of the Mongol invasion. But yeah, so it's like 300 years difference.
Wow. Okay, cool. Amazing. Yeah, the game doesn't like say it's set in the 1600s or anything like that. You just kind of like get the sense from playing that like this was a long time ago. But also different from Ghost of Tsushima. But yeah, anyway, I think we're almost at time here, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining me and talking about Ghost of Yotei, and hopefully you and I can catch up more privately later, and when we're both finished the game and chat about it. Maybe down the road a spoiler cast, although I'm not sure how much bandwidth the podcast has for that. But
well, at least if we had another video just about the story and characters, then we won't have to talk about the mechanics. So we'll see.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, and nice to be on the podcast.
And that just about wraps up this week's show. Thanks, True Avatars, for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. By listening to the show, you are supporting queer-made content, which is more important than ever. If you want to support True Avatars, it would be really great if you could leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. You can follow the show on Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube under the handle @TrueAvatars, all one word, and on Facebook and Instagram under True Avatars. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when new content drops. I welcome you to check out the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com. That's all one word, trueavatarspodcast.com. On the website, you can sign up for the newsletter, where you can get exclusive news and updates on the show. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Take care and stay safe.